guys, Liliana here, just coming to you today with a read from the Psychic Tarot, the Ancestors and Angels deck by Kyle Gray, Whispers of Love, and the Chakra Oracle deck. So, guys, we got a lot of stuff going on here. But it all ties together, right? Um, you may have felt in the past week or so, this current energy that you're bringing in, a lot of passion that is ignited, a lot of, realizations and new truths coming to you, recognizing the truth of who you are, right? The truth of like who you were created to be, and like some of these soul contracts in which you had, right? So in soul contracts, each and every one of us is a soul being before we're ever a human being. So before we ever come into this 3D reality here on planet Earth, we have made these soul contracts with, our friends, our families, probably even our enemies, at some point in time for, what we're going to achieve when we come here into this planet or onto this planet, right? So, we've realized and recognized, that these old patterns don't really work for us anymore. We've got this autumn and it says release the old and rest. So I feel like a lot of you have been releasing the past, looking back, kind of reminiscing on these things and realizing and recognizing, the truth of, how those soul contracts, they may have been, more tumultuous and those types of things, and how they really just don't, you know, uh, settle with you anymore. They don't resonate with you anymore. So, you've been going through, a lot of heartache and loss, feeling like these shadow aspects, that, maybe they've ruined you kind of for life sometimes. But, here also with the shadow aspect, we have the light too. So, as deep as your shadow aspect goes, that is your light as well. The opposites like attracts light, the yin and the yang. So, and there's always going to create some balance. So if you feel like your past has been, heavily charged with a lot of negative influences or lower dimensional vibrations and patterns, you can look now for a period of, um, of truth and reflection, right? It's best time right now is to rest and rejuvenate. As it said also on the autumn card, right? Release the past and rest, right? So, obviously, yesterday with the winter solstice or the summer solstice and the southern hemisphere, we are entering, especially us in the northern hemisphere, that winter and that time when it's time to kind of recluse and go into your cave and, just rest and rejuvenate, nourish yourself and love yourself because, a lot of this time you've spent in isolation, in the past. And even now, you need to really kind of go into that isolation and remove yourself from those denser energies that you no longer want to really come forward into your future timelines, right? So, and you've also been more tending to be a workaholic. So many of us do this. We don't realize and recognize that there has to be balance, with that masculine and feminine energy, the receiving and the giving, that equal give and take. And a lot of us as empaths and chosen ones, we've got the chosen ones here, we have been born into these denser familial contracts, until it was time for us to awaken, right? So a lot of us are going through these awakenings right now. And if you've gone through awakenings before, you're going through an even deeper period of awakening, a higher period of awakening and getting to know, that soul depth, really truly who you are, right? So, by this summertime, everything's going to feel golden and, everything's going to start transforming for you. We've got this triumphant success and positive movement forward, right? So no matter what, Spirit has set you up for success, right? Spirit does want you to consider your foundation. Make sure that you are building on a firm foundation. So it's even more important for you to get that rest and rejuvenation in which you need, right? Allow your nervous system that time and healing space in order to, fully be nourished and fulfilled, right? Moving forward from a place of your cup being overflowing and fulfilled rather than empty and just, having drips or drops left, not much at all, right? So, yes, now it is time to embrace an energy of peace and realize and recognizing that you are moving into a time of expansion and discovery of your true self. This being here has his heart, aflame or ignited here, illuminated, and this being is illuminated by these angels in the ethers or God's self or God, and is bringing forth all of that love with this all this pink, and that reminds you of love, right? So, and bringing back a lot of the inner child too. That inner child has that trust and loves and adores everything most often, right? So yes, you've been on a quest and it's taken some perseverance to get you to where you're at, but you finally realized that acceptance is what leads to perfection, right? We have to accept those things that are showing up for us, and move in a positive direction for us rather than a negative direction. We've got these new beginnings. We might be less challenged now to have those negative connotations, those negative thought patterns showing up for us, because we have this passion that is ignited within, right? We realize and recognize our worth now, right? So, yeah, it says, look to your inner strength. You're way stronger than you realize. So if you've been put on this journey as a chosen one, and you are awakening, and, you realize how dense your past was and how challenging that was, you are now awakening to a much higher timeline. We've had a timeline shift, especially with the 221 portal solstice and the new moon that just passed on the 20th. So I'm going to go ahead and leave with one verse here. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, and temperance. That is Galatians 5:2-23. And this card from the Whispers of Love, excuse me, it says to choose love. You always have a choice. Make sure to choose yours with love. Most definitely, love is the most powerful thing that there is, and self-love is even more powerful, right? So as soon as we're moving into self-love and gratitude, acceptance, and realizing and recognizing our past does not define our future, and that our now moment is all that we truly have in order to manifest those things that we desire, and to be grateful and thankful for what is showing up for us. So it's just a map to kind of tell us, this now moment was created from all your past manifestations. So, now we have this now moment again to create our future manifestations. So guys, I hope this message finds you well. Please do consider a personal reading with me, sweetliliana70@gmail.com, or a personal healing session with me. I would greatly appreciate it. Please like, comment, subscribe, or follow. That really helps my algorithm, and it helps me to know that you all are enjoying my content. So guys, much love. Peace out. I'll see you on the flip side. Mwah.